Is Sunday, the 21st of September, 2025, and story time. And so I have no script for this. I've just been in my head a lot since the tragic event that happened to Charlie Kirk. His horrendous assassination for the world to see. And looking at historical events that I've shared videos on now for a few years, it, um, it, I don't think, I really hope, I pray that this is like the end of this. But when you look again at like World War One and World War Two, and after the assassination of JFK, et cetera, there were more that followed. More assassination attempts, more assassinations, more political prisoners, more suppressing dissent, and truth about what happened as well, which was, really like the biggest thing too, that people need to be held accountable. Who was actually involved? The co-conspirators with the JFK assassination, and and unfortunately having to look at government involvement, which we have seen in other events as well, like World War One. And I'll get into that. But anyways, so today's the Army Run. Long story longer, and I registered a few months ago. I was gonna do it. I've done the Ottawa Army Run several times, and because of everything I'm sharing and researching and analyzing regarding Charlie Kirk, I'm not gonna lie, I did get very triggered. uh, and yeah, and I don't because I'm so as triggered as I am, like I just think it's too much, right? Like, because in my head I'm like, there might be some kind of an event that happens today, and I hope it doesn't. It's already started, but just because again, there's crazy people out there now, and I don't think that I think that this again is just the tipping point, unfortunately, because this is something that has been escalating now for years, and we've been screaming from the top of our lungs, and people have not been paying attention to this. And I'm going to share a video that Steven Crowder did, where he does talk about things that have happened to him and people that he knows and cares about, um, where it was just because people are ideologically different, have differing views, and not even living in reality, clearly, respectfully, and wrong about the things that they're trying to attack others for exposing. And so, and yeah, and so there's someone that I really, really cared about who died overseas when I was on deployment on the 23rd of December of 2009. Andrew Nuttall. He was 30 years old. He died overseas, an IED. And I had just got back into CAF because I was going on HLTA to Egypt for almost a month at that time. And so my flight left literally on Christmas Day, I think it was. So in a day and a half, 2 days after this tragic event that happened, Andrew hit an IED. And so I had been in my office working super late. I worked so many friggin' hours because I was also the battle group embarkation officer. So I was also coordinating people going into Afghanistan, people leaving Afghanistan, relief in place, and then when people got to CAF, making it where I was again establishing that coordination to get them out into their areas of operation, which was all over the place. And but anyway, and so I saw the Merc chatter. I saw the 9-liner go in. I saw the mist, and so um, no names were given at that time, but very, very shortly thereafter, within the hour, my warrant told me who it was, and I was kind of in shock. I just said, thank you for telling me, and I didn't want him to see any emotion in me because I didn't want to make the situation worse because he really cared about him as well. And yeah, so I remember I was putting laundry away because I wanted to get it done for leaving and stuff like that, and and then we had a ramp ceremony. So myself and several other officers that knew Andrew, like we were selected to be pallbearers, and I carried the medal and the beret because I'm smaller, shorter, and stuff like that. So like it just looks better for like the people carrying the casket if they are roughly the same height and strength and size, et cetera, et cetera. This isn't meant to be anything other than like just visually, it looks a lot more professional, and they look a lot more appropriately turned out. And I've been a pallbearer before as well, and so again, it was like it's not straight enough. Like anyway, for one of my closest friends at RMC died of leukemia, Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, and so that was so hard, and so that is like a moment I don't think I'll ever fully like forget in my life. But there are things that I do to, just like stop ruminating, like when these triggers come up, because I was thinking about Erica, and I mean, I can't relate because, like, again, we weren't married and we didn't have children or any of that stuff. But so many people like adored Charlie Kirk and obviously Erica. Just from the stuff that I've looked at, it looked like they genuinely loved each other. And I do have a background in interview and interrogation techniques and assessing behaviors, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm like, again, I'm not perfect. I could be wrong, but it just looked like it was genuine that they cared for each other, and that was taken away. And she's going to be in pain to varying degrees throughout her life for the rest of her life because of this. And there's going to be constant reminders every single year, either on Charlie Kirk's birthday, which I believe is October 14th, which is now going to be a national day to recognize Charlie Kirk's um, message, I guess, to honor his message, to honor his legacy. Um, yeah, so he was 31, Andrew was 30. And but yeah, every single year, because I still follow groups and still know people that knew him, and I won't name the names, but like still follow up with the guys that were carrying the that were in the Chinook with me, to send him off. And so like they do commemorations, right? And so this happens a lot. So it's not just really like, well, I know multiple people that have died overseas or from suicide since, and especially on Remembrance Day, for example, like on my social media feeds or in conversations with people, it's what floods the conversations. And so anyway, where was I going with that? So yeah, I was thinking, being at the Army run, I'm going to see, I would see multiple people that I've worked with before. Again, I might get more. I don't know. It just was just too much for me mentally, and and I've also lost a lot of friends because of my stance on COVID and speaking out on the stuff that I was speaking out against. And they thought I was crazy. They thought that I was irresponsible, that I wasn't looking at the research when I was. And in fact, like, I was right. You know, you look, fast forward to now, a lot of the information is coming out that I was sharing at the time to people within government, which is why I started sharing these videos, because mainstream media, legacy media, and even podcasters and influencers, I've tried to get into that scene. They are, and not coming from a bad place, but like there is like a lot of misinformation that's being spread. And I even saw that in the last 2 weeks with what happened with the Charlie Kirk assassination, and just a lot of conspiracies that are out there and people that are grifting this tragedy and alleging that they were there when they don't have any proof that they were, right? So I've shared witness accounts of people that have proof that they were actually at the event when Charlie Kirk was there on that day. And so those are the ones that I'm sharing, right? Because they have proof on their social media that they were actually there. There are people that are sharing information from people that are alleging they were there, that prior to the tragedy, there was nothing on their social media feeds about being at any events or the plan or the intent to. And these are really prominent accounts where they post a lot, right? So and the multiple stories and things like that. So I think that there's also, unfortunately, people that are grifting and trying to get clout and notoriety from an awful event for clicks. I'm going on all these tangents, but anyways, I wanted to just get that out of the way because I'm disappointed in myself for not going, but like, I have to recognize the fact that I'm just going to be seeing threats where there's no threats, right? Like just because of, again, like what's been going on and what I've been reading regarding like the far left radical groups throughout history and just the impact they've had on starting friggin' world wars. So I'm going to talk about Gavrilo Princip, the individual who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand and got people involved in a war. But before I do that, I'm going to share some stories. I cut up a lot of peppers yesterday. I chopped them up and freezing them for the winter. Okay, my volume's up.
Republicans out there have been saying that Ron Paul would be very dangerous for this country because he wants to bring troops like you back from your post from all over the world?
Well, I think it would be even more dangerous to start nitpicking wars with other countries. Someone like Iran, Israel is more than capable of.
All right, we just lost our tech connection, unfortunately, with Dana. Dana, stand by.
See, you can't. People are so censored. Bringing this to the attention of people that live in the local area, Ottawa police prepare for a Quebec-based truck protest to roll into Ottawa on Monday. And I believe this is the one where the truck drivers are, it's for like increase in salaries, to have like a better management of the certifications, and the salaries of people that are coming here as temporary foreign workers or working here, but like not fully qualified or properly qualified. And they are undercutting regular truck drivers. My stepfather's been a trucker, long haul and short haul, for like over 40 plus years. He has over 3 million miles logged, 3 million miles logged without any speeding tickets or parking tickets or anything. So anyway, they're getting undercut significantly. So this is happening in Canada and the US. It's likely happening in other Western countries as well. And yeah, so they're just looking for people to unfudge that, like they're doing more and more in the US.
And there's been a rise in anti-Semitism all over the country right now, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. People should know that one of the first things that the Nazis did, and I think it was in 1933, was they burned Magnus Hirschfeld's gender for sexuality. Magnus Hirschfeld was studying trans people, LGBTQ people. Lily Elby, who the Danish Girl, the film Danish Girl was about, she had her first gender-affirming procedure at Magnus Hirschfeld's clinic. The Nazis burned it down. All of this research, and there were
different ideological spectrums here. You have people that don't believe in God, and then you have the people that believe in God, and there's people on the varying degrees on that spectrum of like their beliefs in either of these, atheism versus religion. And I've shared this for friggin' years, like, because again, I'm like, these are precursors to world wars, when there's more deviance being accepted and tolerated and allowed in society, or what we perceive to be abnormal behavior, that leads to societal decline throughout history, throughout time, forever. So anyways, and so this was happening, like this push for, people think this is a new thing. Even people in my friend and family group, before I was sharing information like this, they had no idea. I think it's very important that people see this for what it is. There are people, I would say, like on the far left of the chart, not politics here, but where I would say at the far left extreme would be people that are going to pride parades naked and wearing furry costumes and stuff like that, but with their raging friggin' hard-ons and stuff. Anyways, gross stuff. Okay, so that is extremely like the furthest you could possibly get away from people on the far right of that, where I'm saying there's more like it's far right. I would say that people are going to hate me for this, but women who wear the body coverings and the face coverings, that is far right on this spectrum. And then again, people that are nudists for pride parades, like downtown friggin' Toronto, or like thousands and thousands of people naked. Okay, far left. Most people are somewhere in the middle in Canada and the US, etc. Like let's make that more of the majority. Like, let's make Canada healthy again, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
And there's been a rise in anti-Semitism.
It's not even anti-Semitism, it's anti-religion, anti-God narratives. This was really interesting, and then I'm going to get on to some talking a little bit more about Steven Crowder and how World War I started.
I am confused. Being philosophically consistent and being a very honest person, I'm sure you can tell me where God came from.
You got 5 minutes. Now, I just want to know which question.
That's all right. You may take the rest of the minute.
We're supposed to do one question at a time. Which one would you like? That was part of the format for the debate. So which question?
I want you to fill in the story of the rest of the beginning of the universe. God, spiritual matter, impact on material matter.
Okay. So 2 questions. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter, created a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously. And the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well, then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that formed by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think? Okay, so your question, where did God come from, is assuming a limited God. And that's your problem. The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, he would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain. So that's the God that I worship. Thank you.
I am confused. Being philosophically consistent and being very... I am
So
confused.
good.
Being philosophically consistent and being...
I'm going to share at least one more clip before I get into the video here. "30-year prophecy coming to pass, Holy Spirit speaking through his man." Let's see what he has to say.
Zionism is a political philosophy
So he's saying Zionism is a political philosophy
which has brought about the state of Israel, the so-called state of Israel. This political philosophy has nothing to do with religion. On the contrary, it seeks to confuse others and let them think that Zionism and Judaism is one and the same. I am a conscious African. I know properly my history. I know that Africa gave Judaism to the world. I know that the first Jews in the world were Africans. Not only do I know this, but I inform everyone who has doubts about it to read a book by Sigmund Freud entitled Moses and Monotheism as a beginning. Consequently, I know that Judaism and Zionism are not the same. Zionism had its first organizational expressions in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland, in Europe. Here was a man by the name of Theodor Herzl, H-E-R-Z-L. He was the founder of Zionism.
Yep.
He said that he was going to find the state that God promised the Jews. Listen to this very carefully. This man, Herzl, was an atheist. He believed that there was no God. He said God did not exist. Now, how is it that a man who believes that God does not exist is going to find a state that God promised to his chosen people? I tell you, this man is Satan in disguise. Zionism is a satanic movement. It is devil. It is imperialism. It is racist. It has gone and taken the lands of the Palestinian people and through terrorism has driven them out. And through terrorism, it maintains its power. And the United States of America, with over 6 million homeless, sends to Israel billions and billions and billions of dollars everywhere to bomb Palestinian people while homeless people are here and unemployed are here. Zionism is going to raise this war and make the people of America become clear to what it is and become anti-Zionist and stop the aid to Israel and use the money to take care of the homeless in this country. Zionism is a political...
Brilliant man. And this is what I'm saying. This is a spiritual war, but it's at the individual level because the individual makes up the collective. And I thought that was brilliant. Okay, where to start here? I'm going to go into my Grok conversations first. Let's see. All right. Okay, so what Serbian back group was Gavrilo Princip part of? And then I asked, was he a communist? Gavrilo Princip, the Bosnian Serb who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, was affiliated with the Serbian national secret society known as the Black Hand. Some people say that he was not, but there are a lot more accounts saying that he was involved with the Black Hand, even indirectly. So also called unification or death. Unification or death. This group, founded in 1911 by Serbian army officers, aimed to unite South Slav territories into a greater Serbia through terrorist tactics, and it provided Princip and his co-conspirators with weapons, training, and logistical support for the plot. Princip himself was a member of the youth wing of this organization, often linked to the broader Young Bosnian movement. So they're saying he was a nationalist, influenced by anarchist and socialist ideas. I say that communism and socialism, tell me the difference, really, regarding like impact on society and its decline. But anyways, such as those of Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin. And to be honest, I had not heard about these two names prior to this search. So I'll get into more on these characters. But his primary motivations were ethnic liberation and opposition to Austro-Hungarian rule over Serbs. Very important here, Austro-Hungarian rule over Serbs. And then they're saying not Marxist ideology or class struggle. Communism as a political force was marginal in the Balkans at the time, pre-Bolshevik revolution. But again, Soviet socialists. And people that didn't believe in God. And Princip died in 1918, years before the rise of communist movements in Yugoslavia. Yeah, they were just calling it something different. Sure, whatever. Later, under Tito's communist regime, Yugoslav propaganda reframed Princip as a proto-revolutionary hero to fit the narrative of anti-fascist struggle. Sound familiar with Tyler Robinson? Like a lot of the similarities, but this was a retrospective appropriation rather than reflective of his actual beliefs. So I asked about these guys. Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin were not communist socialists in the Marxist sense, but rather prominent figures in anarchism. So I've talked about the political spectrum, where you have the x-axis and the y-axis. And on the x-axis, you have on the far left is like socialism, communism, leftist ideologies, far left. And then you have on the far right, which would be like the Nazis, essentially. And then you have, or not even just the Nazis, sorry, but people that are following like extreme oppression of women's rights and children's rights, etc., within the far right as well, right? I'm talking about like religious wise as well, is also tied in here as well. And you have the y-axis, where you have authoritarian at the top, which means complete control by government. And by the way, all of these systems, they do necessarily require some system or form of government in order to, like if there's any type of attack that happens, like where they need to defend the people from within and hold people accountable for crimes, or what would be like agreed upon as crimes. So anyways, you got anarchy at the bottom. So you got authoritarian at the top, where it's like complete rulership over society, not good. And at the very bottom, anarchist, which means no systems in place, which means things like age limits, people getting going to jail for murder or rape and things like that. Like this doesn't exist in anarchist societies. They don't hold people accountable for predatory behaviors on people, and all societies have varying degrees of predatory behavior amongst them. And the more densely populated you are, the more these crimes go up. These traumatic events, like breaking and enterings, rapings and murderings and muggings and stealing vehicles and all of this stuff that we're seeing like more and more happening. Yeah, and I'm going to say too, cops are overwhelmed, especially in major cities in Canada. Like it's impossible. And now they're pushing more hate speech, bullshit, propaganda, and censorship. Again, this is also, I'm going to talk about this as well, but it's the same trend that predated World War I and World War II. Censorship and oppressing what they're calling dissidents. Anyone that's like saying anything different than the narrative that people at the top within the government are sharing. And we saw that with Tamara Lich and Chris Babar and the Cooch trials and Jeremy McKenzie and Helen Gruss and countless others, people that were trying to share information and being painted as right-wing extremists and radicals because they held traditional values. Anyway, a Russian revolutionary and theorist, Bakunin is considered a founder of collective anarchism. He advocated for the abolition of the state and private property, envisioning a society of free, self-governing communes where resources were shared collectively. Again, this never works. He clashed with Karl Marx in the First International, criticizing Marxism's authoritarian tendencies and its emphasis on state-controlled socialism. Bakunin's ideas leaned towards libertarian socialism emphasizing direct action and revolution over state-driven reform. He was not a communist, as he opposed any form of centralized state power, including the dictatorship of the proletariat Marx endorsed. Mark Carney is well studied on Karl Marx. Red flag. Red flag. That's another thing as well. There are teachers all over first world Western countries that are teaching communist, socialist propaganda and anarchism in the education systems, even at a very young age, to their children, to children. I mean, and they, my goodness, re-education. they need to take some history classes. In short, both were socialists in the broader sense, but neither was a communist, sure. In the Marxist sense, sure. Okay, so calling Gavrilo Princip a national anarchist is a bit of a stretch and not entirely accurate, though it's understandable why you might frame it that way given his influences. Princip was primarily a Serbian nationalist, driven by the goal of liberating South Slavs, especially Serbs from Austro-Hungarian rule, to create a unified Yugoslav state or Greater Serbia. His affiliation with the Black Hand and Young Bosnia centered on ethnic liberation and anti-imperialism, with revolutionary tactics inspired by figures like Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin. While they're anarchists, their influence on Princip was more about revolutionary spirit and anti-authoritarian tactics than a full embrace of anarchist ideology. Princip's actions and writings suggest he prioritized national self-determination over the stateless, classless ideals of anarchism. The term national anarchism, by the way, I had just made that up. I had never heard it before. I was just in conversation. I wanted to see what Grok had to say. So a modern concept combining nationalism with anarchist principles didn't exist in Princip's time. Just because the terminology didn't exist doesn't mean that the ideology wasn't being enforced. His focus was more nationalist than anarchist. He didn't advocate for abolishing all state structures, but rather for replacing foreign rule with a Slavic-led state. Replacing foreign rule with Slavic-led state. How is that not being, that? That's being a nationalist. Yeah. Yeah. So I said he assassinated people. He was a radical. Who helped him? So Gavril Princip, the Bosnian Serb who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie on June 28, 1914 in Sarajevo, was indeed a radical driven by Serbian national ideals. He was part of a small group of conspirators supported by the Serbian nationalist secret society known as the Black Hand, officially unification or death. Okay, so he had a Serbian secret nationalist organization founded in 1911 by Serbian military officers led by Colonel Dragutin Dimitrovic, aka Apis, APIS. I'm not going to try to pronounce these last names, to be honest with you. Aimed to unite South Slav territories, particularly those under Austro-Hungarian rule, into a greater Serbia through propaganda and violence. So we see the far left and the far right, but the far left, there are the studies that I shared where they're 8 times more in support of political violence and are committing politically violent acts, and they're not getting away with it, right? They cops need to start looking into this stuff, right? And Stephen Crowder's going to get into it, but I will say that I have shared this, not comfortable. I've shared my name. My house has been doxxed, and this was Autumn Rain, someone within the trans community, a man that tagged my home and a hashtag bigot again. And this was in 2023. I've had my house swatted friggin' twice, and that was in 2021 because of stuff that I was sharing regarding the woke DEI critical race theory stuff, how it's actually more harmful than it is what you think. It's not doing what you think it's doing. It's causing more division than unification, and there's a lot of money being spent, okay, by grifters on these, supported by people like Jenny Carignan, who's a friggin' chief of defense staff now, and it's just crippling. It's just crippling all of our major institutions. And I was saying it needs to be merit based, not enforced, like affirmation, like this. Anyway. And I friggin' took a photo of a boot print that had very clear marks onto it. That was some kind of a construction boot or security boot or whatever it was, and a boot print on my patio step, right off of my kitchen, right off my goddamn kitchen, in my from my backyard, where I had a fence and a gate. So someone went onto my property. I don't know, and I wasn't there at the time, luckily, but like when I went out, I just had an odd feeling about my house. I go out back, I see a boot print, because during that time, this was February of 2023, there was just so many things that were happening with my house. Like even two guys in these construction vests, which a lot of people in protest wear these friggin' vests, right? Because they want to like look official or like security or whatever. So I think that was an intimidation piece. Tried to like enter my house, and then I was questioning them in a forceful way, like, what do you want, basically? And one guy ran off, and then the other guy ran off after, shut my door, locked it, made sure I was safe. And then they were circling my block for hours, and I was taking recordings of this and stuff like that, and again, witnesses and police report filed. And so, but police were doing nothing about it. They were doing nothing about it. Okay, so they're focused on people like Tamara Leach, who is not like, there's like, she's not a criminal, right? And so many hours being logged into that, like especially within Ottawa, like in the legal system, the justice system, still with people related to COVID. Like, it's ridiculous. Full extent of the law, right? Because these are people that are on the right politically. Like they like this is a two-tiered justice system where people that are on the far left can tag our homes, veterans' homes, females that live alone, our homes, call us a bigot, and that's, to me, inciting violence. And not even have a cop go to this man's house and say, like, how'd you get her address? Can you not do that again to her or anyone else? You psychopath, respectfully speaking. And maybe have this person be intimidated enough by that conversation where they stop doing this stuff. But no, we're going to focus on fake hate speech shit when there's already rules against people that incite violence that you're already not managing, because they don't align with the political flavor of the moment. So again, I'm getting frustrated by this, but Stephen Crowder was saying that he wishes now that he would have shared more of those horror stories where he was getting swatted and doxxed and people coming to his house to harm him, or events and things like that. And again, I'm low level. I do not get a lot of views. I do not have a lot of followers. I've had so many accounts deleted on me because of censorship and stuff like that, sharing the truth. Never once calling for violence. I've said this since the beginning. This has to be peaceful. Has to be peaceful because this is a spiritual war. And he was saying, because if he would have let people know just how dangerous and violent these people are, I'm talking about these radicals that are showing up to debates, that are showing up to events, that are doxing people and swatting people from like the safety of their houses and stuff like that, but causing so much duress to people and laughing about it and celebrating it. He wishes that he would have shared just how violent it was to show people, you know what I mean? Like, we need to wake up. Like, these are not peaceful people. 24% of people on the far left are in support of political violence. 3% of people on the far right support political violence. Why? Because they are, generally speaking, the majority are believers in God and don't believe that's the answer. And know and understand that doing things like this is a domino effect to things like world wars and civil wars and more harm and more death and more protests and more assassin. Like, it's just, so predictable. Provided precipitous co-conspirators with weapons, I already said that, pistols and bombs, training and logical support, including smuggling them across the Serbian-Bosnian border. Yeah, and this was founded by Serbian military officers, providing weapons, providing propaganda, providing bombs, providing strategies and tactics, how to employ them. And there are people on the far left and likely the far right as well, but the far left, that I know this because I've seen the videos of this, I've seen the posts, I've seen like so much where they're arming themselves and they're training with military tactics and law enforcement tactics. Why are they doing that? Because they're part of anti-fascist groups. Who are the fascists right now? Who are the Nazis right now? People that vote conservative. So yeah, I think that maybe these, at the very least, they need to get investigated. Maybe, anyway. Yeah, so when I say things like, when you look at these events and these radicals in these areas, when I say you have to look at the funding and who's supporting them, who's providing, who's enabling them, like that, this is how you stop it, right? Like, so people within the government that are aiding radicals directly and indirectly, because it's assisting them with their political dissidence problem, right? This is like, okay, yeah, we'll leave this over to you. You can solve our problems. This is the stuff that happens. It's not helping. So Young Bosnia, loosely organized revolutionary youth movement of Bosnian Serbs, Croats, and Muslims seeking liberation from Austro-Hungarian rule. Princip was a member inspired by nationalist and revolutionary ideas, including those of anarchists like Bakunin and Kropotkin, who were anarchist socialists. People confuse these things. I don't believe Adolf Hitler was a nationalist. I believe like he wanted to have international influence. And he had a lot of support and assistance within his circle in order to fuel and divide and polarize. And Princip was one of 7 young men, mostly Bosnian Serbs, directly involved in the plot. So you've got these guys, I can't pronounce these names, threw a bomb at Archduke's motorcade earlier that day. It missed, injuring others. And there were also like other assassination attempts on JFK's life, where it didn't pan out because they were not successful. And so again, like this is throughout history, this seems to be a possible trend. Just to consider, another armed conspirator positioned along the motorcade route, Mohammed Membsik. So anyway, other members stationed to attack, though only Princip succeeded. Most were young, teens to early 20s, radicalized by anti-Austro-Hungarian sentiments and trained by the Black Hand. Serbian government involvement disputed, of course. Some evidence suggests indirect support from elements within the Serbian government, particularly through the Black Hand's ties to military intelligence. However, Serbian Prime Minister Nikola Pasic likely opposed the plot, fearing it would provoke war with Austria-Hungary. The extent of official involvement remains debated among historians. I say that they did have people that were involved. Just like we have people in the House of Commons that were involved in funding and fueling radicals because of policies and measures and censorship. And that's why you should know history before you do things that you're doing that are the same trend forward to a world goddamn war. He saw Franz Ferdinand as a symbol of imperial dominance, though the Archduke's reformist ideas, like federalizing the empire, might have complicated Princip's narrative. No shit. Yeah, that's... yeah. Influence inspired by anarchist thinkers like Bakunin and Kropotkin, anti-authoritarian revolutionary tactics, ethnic nationalism. The Balkans were a hotbed of nationalist unrest, with Serbia emboldened by recent Balkan War victories and seeking to undermine Austro-Hungarian control over Bosnia. Okay. So then I wanted to ask about anti-Austro-Hungarian sentiment. Anti-Austro-Hungarian sentiment in the early 20th century, particularly among South Slavs like Gavrilo Princip, stemmed from a mix of political, cultural, and ethnic grievances against the Austro-Hungarian Empire's rule over territories like Bosnia-Herzegovina. Below is a concise explanation, sure. Annexation of Bosnia in 1908. Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina, a former Ottoman territory, in 1908. So we see that like during this period in the late 1800s, where there's people that are funding and promoting and building this narrative to create a Jewish state. And anyways, this outraged Serbs who saw Bosnia as a rightful part of a future greater Serbia due to its large Serb population. So they violated the 1878 Treaty of Berlin. The annexation humiliated Serbia, which had nationalist aspirations, and fueled resentment among Bosnian Serbs living under foreign rule. This like reminds me of what people are saying about Canada being the 51st state, like all of this stuff. Again, this is all like, doesn't surprise me that they want to be part of the US now. And then there's people that are saying like, absolutely not. Canada stays Canadian. I would consider myself to be more of a national as well. But again, I'm like in the middle. I have voted for 3 different political parties in my life based on platform and the person leading that party. The person that's leading that party, very important. Very important. The most important. Ethnic and cultural suppression. The Austro-Hungarian administration marginalized Slavic identity, happening in Canada as well, where like Canadian identity is being eroded, promoting, but anyways, I'll get into the immigration stuff and the illegal immigration and the overwhelming amount that's been happening since 2020, but promoting German and Hungarian dominance while restricting Serbian cultural expression. Example, language, Orthodox religion, and education. Sound familiar? With the attack on churches, Christian schools, Jewish schools and places of worship, etc. Disgusting acts against people because of their religion. That's why, like, there was a point where I did take off my cross for a while. I was wearing it for a few years, and then I freaking lost it because I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just like, I've done so much already that's put a target on my back, including when I would, when I was healthy, walk into places not wearing a mask during lockdowns and mandates and stuff like that, and so screamed at, yelled at, people wanting to kick me out, and anyway. Yeah, so I'm just reading some points here. So radical Marxists self-fund typically, as we were talking about earlier with the education system, these people organize and host private events. Well, there's a lot of people now that are within like these movements that are getting funding from like even protesters and stuff like that. Like these are organized groups and movements that are being funded from international organizations like George Soros, like with the Open Society, and Bill and Melinda Gates foundations, and the Clintons and the Ford, et cetera, Rockefellers, Rothschilds. There's a lot of money, USAID, being funneled or making its way to these more radical groups where they can be more organized and gain access to firearms and train and but yeah, they are grassroots. I do agree with that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, people, whether they know it or not, they are directly or indirectly falling into the trap of the narrative and the scripts that these steering committees want to create and implement on societies. Like, people are walking right into it. So many different people into the same playbooks, and that's why when I was saying even about the Freedom Convoy, this was something that there were incredible grassroots people that were amazing heroes that overtook it, made it peaceful, and made it where like the areas turned, like it wasn't them that were like dismantling businesses and stuff like that. Like the Canadian government that were not listening to people for years, they were the ones that destroyed lives and businesses and et cetera, and our economy. And these people were just trying to address that peacefully. And they were speaking on stage, on platforms, cleaning up the streets. They were giving to the Ottawa Mission and things like that. I was working there for years at that point, and I was a facilitator through Ottawa University, Discovery University, to give credits to people who are homeless or transient in the Ottawa area to build up their resume and then give them like more critical thinking skills, get them off the streets, etc. We taught these courses every semester, 10 weeks, and so I knew, I asked questions. I already had a pulse on what was going on in Ottawa. And because I also knew, anyway, I just had a pulse. And people were lying on the mainstream media. This was what was so also annoying as well, because I was also calling mainstream media and saying, like, your reporters are literally lying and staging and planning these scenarios and painting people that are part of the peaceful Freedom Convoy as right-wing fascists, et cetera, and they're actually getting attacked, and their vehicles are getting attacked and destroyed, and there's people from the Ottawa area that are it was just ridiculous, and everyone made it peaceful. No one died, and it was super peaceful, and it was almost 3 weeks long that it was there, and people were compliant. Again, like, people refused to talk to us. They refused, and it was the safest they could have ever been. Was the Freedom friggin' Convoy, way safer than a lot of these protests that we've seen, especially in the U.S., with their damaging buildings and going after law enforcement people and medics and nurses and like, ridiculous. And anyone that looks like a different skin color. Yeah. So that could have been managed better, and then declaring the Emergency Act unlawfully, unconstitutionally. The Austro-Hungarian administration marginalized Slavic identity. I already said that. Policies like Germanization and Magyarization alienated South Slavs, the Serbs, Croats, Slovenes, who felt their national identities were under threat. We're seeing more and more people saying that they feel like their national identities are a threat. People in the US are saying it. People in Australia, New Zealand. Anyway, so many different countries in Europe, so many now, and Canada too. But again, we're slow roll. Political repression. Austria-Hungary's governance in Bosnia was authoritarian, with limited political freedoms. Local Slavs had little representation, and dissent was harshly suppressed. Example: censorship, arrests of nationals. Like, I wonder how many people are religious in the House of Commons. Like, actually religious and believe in God, not fakes. Serbian nationalism and external influence. Serbia's victories in the Balkan Wars boosted its prestige and inspired South Slavs under Austro-Hungarian rule to seek unification with Serbia or a Yugoslav state, sure. Groups like Black Hand, with ties to Serbian military intelligence, fanned anti-Austro-Hungarian sentiment, smuggling propaganda and weapons to Bosnian radicals. Economic exploitation. Bosnia's resources were exploited by Vienna with limited economic benefits for locals. Look at where all of our money is going. To all of these different, and it's not going to where it's actually needed. A lot of this is getting pocketed by people who have shares and stocks in these companies or working for these companies that push this, like these wars and these protests and these different events like over the world that are, anyway. But people within Canada need this. We're getting so heavily taxed here. And that this money is not going towards Canadians. Land reforms favored non-Slavic elites, deepening resentment among Serb peasants and intellectuals. Intellectuals, as if Serb peasants weren't smart. So land reforms favored non-Slavic elites, like BlackRock, like Brookfield. International companies taking our land and our real estate. Huge part of our GDP is real estate. And it's not profiting us. Okay, so Slima drove the formation of revolutionary groups like Young Bosnians. Okay, this is a little redundant. Princip and his co-conspirators targeted Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, as a symbol of imperial oppression. Despite Ferdinand's reformist idea, example, federalizing the empire to give Slavs more autonomy, radicals viewed him as a threat to their vision of a unified South Slav state. They were indoctrinated, radicalized, as mentioned. This guy was more of a reformist with his ideas. Charlie Kirk was questioning Netanyahu and stand-downs that happened and the possibility that there might be a genocide going on, etc. He was very much in support of Israel and Jewish people all over the world, but he was still questioning certain people from certain groups. I'm talking about the radical groups here, the radical Zionist groups especially that I'm talking about in this specific case. And yeah, he was a moderate in all accounts. But that message wasn't getting out properly. So this is where like the left and right propaganda machine would be going against the Archduke. So he was a fall guy. The assassination was a direct expression of this sentiment, aiming to provoke a crisis that could dismantle Austro-Hungarian control over Bosnia. The sentiment was part of a wider wave of nationalism across the Balkans, where ethnic groups sought self-determination amid declining empires. Austro-Hungary's harsh response to the assassination, example, the July ultimatum to Serbia, escalated tensions, turning local resentment into a international conflict. World War I. Escalated tensions, turning local resentment into a world friggin' war. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Anyways, as a Bosnian Serb, Princip embodied the sentiment. Raised in poverty under Austro-Hungarian rule, he was radicalized by nationalist literature and anarchist ideas from Bakunin and Kropotkin, viewing violence as a path to liberation. So that's the big thing, ideologically speaking. Like, the path of liberation is not through violence, and there are radicals on the far left that do support political violence 8 times more likely than people on the far right. So get it right, people within government. CSIS reports, RCMP reports talking about the extreme radicals are people that hold traditional conservative values and views. We are not the threat. Like, there is enough data out there. This has been lied about for far too long. This needs to be addressed peacefully, but open discord and bringing receipts. All right. Is there anything else before I get into the video? Because I think it's very important. I think Steven Crowder, we don't agree on a few things like the moon landings, but I do agree with a lot of his points. And he is hilarious, despite the fact that he probably does not respect or like women like me, who was in a male-dominated environment and didn't have a family. I wanted a family. It didn't line up because of a lot of sacrifices I had made throughout the years. And anyways, relationships not working out largely because of cheating, not on my part. And or that would have happened. But we would agree on a lot of things. I would love to do a podcast with him.
For a violent response. You've clarified that now. And people are saying, is that, as you know, a lot of people believed you were advocating for a violent response. You've clarified that now. And people are saying, is that a sincere clarification, or have you just come?
Okay, so Steven Crowder, we're both, I don't know, actually, I don't know how old you are. I'm in my 40s. And so if you want to just get out of the way, we can do like a pull-up and a push-up competition before we start our debates. If you want to like assess my skills, we can go on the range. That wasn't a DEI hire.
Down.
It wasn't a clarification. It was a repeat. And I stand by it. I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. And if you give me 1.5 minutes, I can make it crystal clear if we need to. What you're seeing with Charlie Kirk is what got through. Charlie Kirk lived under a cloud just as I have. It's the reason that I stopped doing Change My Minds, where there were 12 felonious assaults, attempts at battery, and attempts on my life. And I know quite a few, and many I don't.
12 felony charges.
I want to be clear. I want those on the left to speak freely and to be able to host their events with minimal security as they do now for the rest of their lives. Just as surely, I want them to be deathly terrified of showing up and acting with the increasing violence as they have at our events. And that goes both ways. Hey, if there's a spat of right-wing violence that's spreading across this country, treat those people the same way that we treat yours. But you won't find it. And let me just address a couple of things here. What I think leads to violence. They'll try and blame it on Donald Trump. They'll give us a bunch of reasons. Let me be really clear here. Joe Walsh will say that this is an overreaction. He said that yesterday. He doesn't understand why this is a big deal. That's untrue. He will say that statistically more violence comes from the right. That's provably untrue. He has been stating for days that the shooter was in fact not a leftist and we didn't know. That's provably untrue. He will create a false equivalency between Charlie Kirk and the murder of the Hortmans in Minnesota. That's provably untrue. And finally, he will place blame, as the left and the spineless right does, for all of this on Donald Trump, conservatives, rising figures, and the rhetoric for temperatures in this country. That is provably untrue. Donald Trump ran on Law and Order and won because of leftist violence. All of this, let me finish with this. All of this is by design so that the left and spineless right can make this conversation about conservatives responding to the cold-blooded terroristic assassination and gleeful celebration thereafter of a young man who did nothing more than sit down at a table and allow anyone to speak their opinion. And I know what it's like because I was in that spot. I started it, and Charlie cited it as inspiration. If I could change one thing, and I do believe that I'm partially responsible for this, I've failed people. I've had to do a lot of soul searching. When I did Change My Mind and started in 2016, the idea was, hey, calling the left on their bluff, civil dialogue with anyone to the tune of billions of plays and hundreds of hours. And it got increasingly violent. And what I didn't tell people, I told people out there, go do this on your own campus, have these conversations. I advocated for it. And Charlie took it to another level. He was unbelievable at it. What I didn't do, I didn't tell people about the threats because I didn't want copycats. I didn't tell them about terrorists from Yemen through Sweden showing up in East Grand Rapids. I didn't tell them about concrete milkshakes. I didn't tell them about my tires getting slashed, about people trying to firebomb my car. And maybe if I would have picked up the phone, maybe if I would have used this megaphone to tell people it's real life out there and the left wants you dead, maybe Charlie would have had a fighting chance.
I'm glad that you played that clip and you brought this up because, again, I've always said that we have to understand that just trying to be by God.
See, I just want to clarify that point too. Like, well spoken, and like he has been through it. That's wild what he's gone through. Alex Jones talks about his examples, Nick Fuentes as well, where I think he was doing like a live podcast, and that there was someone that was trying to break in to kill him. He was live. That's crazy. When is that like so? But anyways, my point to this is everyone's saying that like they're trying to demonize. And I've said this too, like I've slammed the liberals, saying like, I mean, if you're voting liberal right now, like what are you thinking? Like stop being so brainwashed. Turn off CBC. Respectfully speaking, read a book. But I mean that in jest. And I've said though, like I have friends and family that have voted liberal. They voted NDP. They voted PPC, etc. Bloc Québécois and conservative, and we still love each other, and we have respectful dialogue and conversations. They're incredible people. Yeah, and it's just a matter of like talking through conversations as to like, why did you vote that way? This is why I voted this way, and then having more conversations. And sometimes it shifts people into changing their minds on things, right? Like this is the helpful way to do things. And the more people are isolated and in those echo chambers of like violence and anti-fascist rhetoric and stuff like that, like it's like these are not healthy echo chambers, right? And this is where radicals become more radical and extreme, like fueling the fire, within these groups. And so, no, they don't need to be necessarily hired directly by Netanyahu in order to. And that was a bad example because people are blaming him for that. I don't think he has any involvement in that. Still, like, do all the research and investigations and stuff like that. Like, I still think that Netanyahu should be in jail for what he's doing right now with his own government and multiple countries, bombing multiple countries, war crimes in multiple countries, and profiting off the wars. But yeah, where was it going with that stuff? Yeah, so sometimes like even just by virtue of like pushing and fueling the propaganda from like political figures, these are unfortunate results. It's just a reality that we've seen throughout history. And that's why people that are elected officials or experts or news outlets, you need to temper national tensions and not fuel propaganda, right? That does not help. Like we're psyopsing ourselves because of, anyways, our own politically driven ideologies that we're allowing to impact our decision-making abilities for the collective. Very dangerous. And so there are people that are radical and far left, but that's still like a smaller percentage of Democrats and or liberals. It is something to consider that, again, 24% of people who are far left support political violence. Like I think this is a wake-up call. I'm hoping that people within the Canadian government, RCMP, Ottawa Police Services, I hope they have all of that information now. I'm going to email those studies to more people that I know. And again, it's just educating people.
Be bygones is not the way you respond.
But don't hate an entire political party because of the actions of a few people. Because I do think, I'll reiterate, the texts were scripted. I think that they had previous conversations about what was going to be said on those texts in order to paint a pretty little bow. And not put blame on his lover. But again, FBI is likely all over that, trying to find what groups he was part of.
People who are crazy and violent.
What content
that you have to respond to them in a way they know they can't do this and get away with it. But Steve has a great point. He said that Kirk was inspired by him. He made that clear. He said that what he didn't do, he failed to tell them that about the responses that these people on the left have been given to him, the danger that he was under. And he said he didn't do it because he was afraid that, to encourage copycats. But by not making that clear, that we were not prepared for the crazy that was going on. And so his point is well taken. You can't respond to brutal violence with passivity, because when you do that, you encourage brutal violence, and that's what's been going on. Now we're not, and every time you bring this up, they say, well, there's violence on both sides. Yes, there's violence on both sides, but look at the statistics. And I'm not talking about the fake statistics that's been put out there that said that the right is more violent than the left. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And Charlie and Steve brought his receipts to that discussion. But the difference is that there's much more violence on the left side, and this is very clear. No one can really deny that honestly. And those statistics have to be made clear to the public. It is not the same thing. But he sits saying is that both sides, no matter where the violence is coming from, has to be met properly. And you have to shut this stuff down before it gets out of hand, because if you don't, you're going to have a civil war on your hands.
I'm still bothered by Charlie Kirk. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm still bothered by Charlie Kirk. And listening to Steve, I understand why somebody said it seems like he feels some kind of guilt, or because he feels like he should have shared all that. And it's because I know people like to say there's violence in the right. But my goodness, I have not seen a summer of love happen anywhere.
Nowhere.
No summer of love has taken place.
Never.
Anywhere.
Thank you.
And what happened to Charlie Kirk? A man that just had a microphone and having a conversation.
Never threatened anybody.
If the right was so violent, then you would have seen a summer of love, because the man was just sitting there having a conversation. And you just didn't like what he was saying. But there's no summer of love. So the thing is, and I have to say this, because us over here, when we talk the way that we talk common sense. And
yes.
I tell people all the time, because they come in here, they say some very hateful stuff to me. They send some evil messages to me, as my friend. Yeah, as my friend Sack says, listen, we gonna keep FBI on speed dial for y'all. We're gonna keep FBI on speed dial. You threaten me, please believe FBI will be my friend. But the thing is, you see this and you're just like, what is going on? And y'all know I was taken back to a biblical stance, because that biblical worldview, that is honestly the demonic spirits manifesting in them. They can't even control themselves. Yeah. They cannot control themselves. I know I sent you, I don't know if you're going to put this one up, Wise, but where those people are in New York and they were saying F Charlie Kirk, he's a racist, blah, blah, blah. And then these kids were just having a prayer vigil at NYU, and the people were threatening to unalive them. They came to the prayer vigil.
Yes.
To threaten to take their lives because they're praying.
Yep.
This is demonic. I want people to understand it. That's what it is. And the thing is, people hate truth. Demons hate truth. And that's literally what it is. Because people get upset because we tell them the truth. I don't know if y'all saw the video that I put out there where I said, Black people, I spoke to my Black people. I said, Black people, the reason why we are still in the place that we are, well, I'm not going to be in that group, but others, is because we walk around with generational unforgiveness, that curse of unforgiveness. And because we walk around in that space, we can't get ahead. So all we keep talking about is, remember when we were slaves? Y'all weren't slaves. Stop telling me about slavery. You weren't there.
Never.
If y'all see the amount of hate and the hateful messages that I receive for just sharing truth and saying, listen, let's come up out from under that. Let us move in, like the word says, forgive and move on, because we can get better if we do. I got so much hate for it. I got threats thrown at me. So the thing is, I agree with him. And people don't understand. Listen, I ain't got to do nothing. Listen, if you come at me, I'm going to protect me. The Lord said to sell the cloaks and buy a sword. That's what the Lord said. The word said it.
Come on.
The word said it. So you're not going to come at me and try, but that's what I'm saying. The mental space, it's that reprobate mind, that demonic spirit in them, that's why they behave the way that they behave.
Luke 22.
And I love the fact that we showed them different. Because like I said, Charlie Kirk unalived, and none of us did. All you saw was people singing, praising, prayer vigils, people honoring him. There was no violence. No violence at all. So to all my conservative people, to you, Wise, to you, Minister Denzel, to you, Mika, to you, Jay Witt, all of you that are out here speaking, just be mindful that everybody ain't right up there in the head, and it's because they're not right in their spirit. And
you could take a look at Alexa Lavoie. I'll say it again from Rebel News. The amount of attacks on her, with law enforcement even there watching this, by men elbowing her, hitting her, pushing her, grabbing her things, throwing paint on her, other fluids, spitting on her. This is all recorded too. What has been done about that? What has been done? It's frustrating to watch, honestly, but again, it's nothing that can be done. It's just, more people should be sharing this though, just to show people how crazy this has gotten. Because the more the majority is aware, I don't know, a little bit more accountability will be held for people within government and people in the media, influencers, and they'll be deplatformed by the people, right? So I'm not saying that there should be censorship bill, like people like deplatform any of that stuff, other than through people's losing interest and support for these people and or organizations who are supporting and or fueling division and lying. This is why I keep saying defund CBC. Allow them to thrive on their own, where taxpayers are not putting money in order for them to, there's so many people at the top of CBC too that make ridiculous salaries, taxpayers' money, and they are lying to us consistently. And then it's through COVID as well. And so, no, make it on your own. If people are interested in you and your content's good, people are going to watch you and support you. This should be informed consent.
We have to be careful around us because we never know who's watching us, and we got to stay covered under the blood because these people are crazy. They are.
No, that's a fact. I can definitely tell you. I get a lot of hate mail, and I do mean a lot. And I get a lot in my comment section. You know, I get called all types of jigaboos, half breed, this, that, third, all types of stuff. You know, whatever. You know, Tether, that's their favorite one.
That's my favorite one. Yeah.
but you know, if the right really wanted to do something, right? We are the most and heavily armed group.
That's true.
Okay? Could just wipe all of them out. We don't have no guns in Minnesota, none of these places. DC, none of them. They don't have any guns, right? So the group that has the guns are the most responsible.
Discipline. That's right.
Yeah. And to go to the Charlie Kirk point, there was a quote by Charlie Kirk that I had to correct in my video because I'm so sick of hearing people say it. They're like, well, Charlie Kirk was for, you know, the Second Amendment, and he said, you know, well, you know, it's going to be gun violence, so that's not what he said.
That wasn't his point. No, it wasn't.
You have to recognize when you want something that there are things that are going to come with it, right? We've realized that, you know, we can go outside and do better with getting places with a car, right? But as it's been pointed out, 50,000 deaths. Per year. Right. You're more likely to die in a car crash than a lot of things. So with that being said, I'm just like, okay, so you guys don't want to get rid of your cars. If I say go get rid of that Mercedes, you're not getting rid of that Mercedes, right? No. You're going to stand 10 toes down on it because you have, and the rest of the society has taken a stance of saying, hey, this is actually worth, you know, those 50,000.
That's what I'm saying too. Like there are people on the far left, radicals, who have like full up organizations and groups where they're they are arming themselves. They're doing military training and law enforcement type training and tactics, and also training for protests, how to respond and react to law enforcement or even ICE or counter protesters, etc., in tactical ways. So it is happening. It is a reality, and this is what I mean. When you couple that with groups that are bringing in illegal firearms, holy fuck, man. This is, yeah. And so that is a good point that I did, re-emphasize. Yeah. So even if percentage-wise they have less firearms, they are 8 times more likely to use them, again, due to ideological motivations. I don't like just saying like political motivations, but ideological motivations. Like 8 times more likely to support ideological violence.
Deaths are actually worth
that needs to be factored
having
in.
upward mobility. It's the same thing with guns. Yes,
Right.
you're gonna have crazy individuals that are going to do this, and that was Charlie Kirk's point in
Good point.
saying that. But again, the left, because they're so educated that they don't have common sense, so they take out context. They don't understand
Amen.
context for the life of me. If you say something, well, you know, Ketanji Brown and Kamala both don't have, you know,
Mhm.
the capacity to do. Oh my God, it's all black women.
No, that's right.
No,
There you go.
I said
Come on.
Kamala,
Come on,
and
break
I
it down.
said Ketanji.
Break it down.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Amen.
they
Well,
he called them
don't
out by name.
have. Yes, he
Right.
called them by name, and he
That's
said
right.
they don't have the capacity, which they don't, because
And
you can
use
go
their own
listen to
statements.
you can go listen to a montage of Ketanji. I don't know.
That's right. Use their own statements.
I don't know. Yeah.
They don't know how to define a woman, so clearly
I mean,
you don't know.
No, she in a hearing said that I am not educated enough to
We know.
define the
What y'all
definition
said?
of a woman. So
Come
I
on.
mean,
Come on, break it down, people. Break it
Yeah,
down.
that's what. And so when you get into Charlie Kirk, he, of course, one, he's a content creator. Okay, he understands, like I said earlier, that I use certain words to grab attention.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
but when you listen to the context of what I'm saying, am I
That's
wrong?
right.
You can hate me, you can say I'm this, that, and the third, but
Right.
am I right?
Amen.
And just because you don't like me, don't make what I'm saying wrong. They don't
That's
like
right.
Charlie Kirk, and they say he's a racist.
Okay, just because we're talking about this. Oh, I took my video off because I wanted to read some things first. Okay, here we go. So I asked what percentage of the American prison / jail systems are Democrat. Political affiliation in the U.S. prison and jail system. The U.S. prison and jail system incarcerates about 2.1 million people as of 2024, but comprehensive national data on their political affiliations is limited. That's fair. This is because many states disenfranchise felons temporarily or permanently, so party registration isn't always tracked or updated for inmates. However, available studies and surveys provide insights primarily focusing on voter registration among those eligible to vote post-incarceration or self-reported identifications. These show a notable Democratic lean, driven largely by the system's racial demographics. Example, Black Americans, who make up approximately 33% of prisoners, but 13% of the general population of America. So overwhelmingly identify as Democrats. So Black Americans, who make up approximately 33% of prisoners, 13% of the general population, overwhelmingly identify as Democrats. Again, this is Grok. I'll verify further. If you know more information, please provide me that. Key findings from studies. Party registration among felons, post-release or eligible voters. A 2014 study in the Annals of the American Academy of Political and Social Science analyzed registration data in 3 states, New York, New Mexico, North Carolina, for approximately 5.8 million eligible ex-felons, 2.5% of the voting age population. It found Democrats outnumber Republicans by wide margins with ratios of 6-to-1 or higher. In some cases, higher or higher in some cases. Overall, approximately 70% of felons register as Democrats. 6-to-1 ratio, sometimes higher. So New York, 9% Republican. New Mexico, 10.2% Republican. North Carolina, 10.2% Republican. And over 50%, over 60% in some cases, identifying as Democrat. Okay, so let's hear. Okay, so prisoners are disproportionately Black, 5 times the rate of white, Caucasian, and low-income urban residents. Groups that register Democratic at 70 to 90% rates in general polls. So again, the more dense a population is, and not, anyway, and having more non-traditional cultures is what's doing this, regardless of skin color or race or language or religion. So anyway, make the connections. So I hope this is interesting to people. This is just my take on things. And I like getting other people's feedback and input.
And that he only talks on Black and brown people, when that man spoke multiple times about white men needing to do better, white men in fentanyl, white men in mass shootings, white men and not being good family leaders. Okay, because the liberal white woman is running amok. Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And so he talked about bringing white men back to conservative values. He's a white man. What else is he supposed to talk about? So he can't talk about the Black community because that's racist. And then when he talks about the race that he is, the white community, then you say, oh, well, you're a white supremacist because you talk about building a white man back up. He's a white man.
You can't do nothing right.
Can't do nothing right. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's absolute nonsense, and the left is always and I'll land my plane here. The left is always going to use violence. This podcast right here that I do was started with my friend. She's no longer my friend, and it was all because I was voting for Donald Trump. And anytime we would have discourse on the podcast, it became increasingly violent. And I'm talking about just virtual, yelling and screaming at me. And I'm just like, you know me. Why are you yelling and screaming at me? And it's all because of the cognitive dissonance, the Trump derangement.
That's right.
Exactly.
They have a hold on the 98% and the 70% of Black men that stroll to the polls behind their chicks. And they have a grip on illegal immigrants because they understand that they're destitute.
Yeah.
But they can't do nothing with us.
Amen.
So they got to do something. And if you can't beat them, then you got to talk. Then you got to talk about it, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that anytime you start talking about holding people accountable, people are going to get in their feelings. And if you are a Black person talking to Black people about, how they can improve their plight, that doesn't require, or that doesn't say, oh, the white man has to do it for you, or it's the white man's fault that you're in this predicament. Anything outside of that, you are, a Sambo, Uncle Tom, bootleg, coon, tether, something along those lines. And if you're white and you're saying, hey, we need the Black man and woman to start, to get back together. We need to see the marriage rates increase. We need to see the out of wedlock births decrease. That is racist talk right there for saying that, hey, we need you to improve. Now, I will say this. I do wish, and I understand where Steven Crowder is coming from, in this, by saying, I really wish that I would have been a little more forthcoming, even if maybe it didn't have to be on air, but he could have had a conversation like, hey, man, these are the things that have happened to me. Right. It is crazy out here if you're going to put yourself out here in this space.
That's right. Protect yourself.
Not only do you need security on the ground, but you need security all the way around.
All time.
I'm sure he's probably kicking himself by not having those types of conversations. No different than when people come to me and they say, man, you got this channel, this podcast, and this thing that you're doing. And I always warn them and tell them, I was like, hey, man, you have to be prepared.
Right. Amen.
Everybody's not going to agree with what you have to say.
That's right.
And you gotta have some thick skin. And if you don't have it, you better build it. And you need to allow it to callous, because everybody is not going to agree with what you said. Some people will agree with 90% and they will unsubscribe off of 10%. You know what I'm saying of what you said, and they'll cuss you out and call you all kinds of names, everything but a child of God, because of one thing that they disagreed with that you said. And that's where, when you get into this, you can't. I always tell people, don't be naive. Everybody's not gonna love you. And understand that, that's okay. When you put yourself out there, and I'm sure Charlie Kirk understood the dangers. I got a chance to see some videos of him being attacked by Antifa. I got a chance to see some videos of him being attacked by different people. And what was that? Maybe a month ago, at a Turning Point event where all hell just broke loose. And I think Tatum was out there and he was throwing bows, and throwing bows at folks out there. And that was just about a month ago or so, right? So I think he understood, what he was getting himself into. But I also understand Crowder and I understand his plight, because he's like, man, I wish I would have said something. And I think all of us, I'm sure all of you guys all have platforms, and I'm sure people come up to you and say, hey, how can I do what you're doing? And I'll give you some game, but I'm also going to tell you, like, hey, especially if you're going to get into this space, I got to warn you, hey, everybody's not going to love you. And sometimes it be your own folks, you know what I'm saying, that will cut you the deepest, unfortunately.
Every generation has had turning point moments that help shake society, kind of wake them up out of some of the foolishness that they're in. I believe this helped us. This is going to be our point back moment where we'll point back and remember, like, oh, well, why are there so many people aging at college campuses? Why are there so many people willing to engage the culture in this way? Oh yeah, it was this effect from September 10th, and I do believe that's what we're experiencing. There is a I don't remember where it was shared. I don't think it's just that society hates truth, and I'm not trying to parse words, but I really believe that society hates Christ, and we have to make sure that now Christ is truth, but I do think we need to properly use the proper term. Like, society hates the fact and the idea that someone would dare to stand on a college campus surrounded by his or her enemies and declare truth in the way that he did. And it was, how many times have we ever seen him do that before? Not many people who become experts in Charlie Kirk didn't even know his name. They thought it was only James T. Kirk before then.
They right in line with those constitutionalists. Go ahead.
Right, they're right there. But they became experts by Wednesday night. So my point is, this idea that we stand on truth and we're willing to literally put ourselves on the line to stand in the place of truth, in the pocket, and just stand there, and so be it. But so be it. So I don't think we're foolish or in error or anything of that nature. We are allowing people to realize that our faith is not in our rhetoric. Our faith is not in our government. Our faith is not in our ability to how quickly I can pull my weapon out. My faith is in my King. And if I am doing what I'm doing in honor and service of my King, so be it.
Amen.
I'm perfectly fine with the outcome of that. And I feel comfortable that Charlie Kirk was perfectly fine with the outcome, because he was doing what he was doing in honor and respect and to his King. So I do think that we should continue to encourage and admonish and prod people to get out there and engage in the culture, whether it be like we're doing here or face to face or however. There's going to be some changes, though. There will be changes to this, but I don't think that change my mind, prove me wrong type of effect should stop. But it's gonna look different.
But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Join the ARP family. Buy your brother a coffee. Link in the description box below if you'd like to support the channel. I appreciate the love and support. Join us Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for ARP in the morning. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so rockin' high.
All right. I just stopped my camera for a bit because I was looking at people are still sending me so many different videos of what possibly happened. I'm not subscribing to this, but this is going around a lot. So again, I'm going to share things just to see, like, what people think. Just gonna get to it first. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I've been guilty of this as well, where I'm making connections to things and just trying to like make assessments based on like having similar birthdays, similar years, looking at so many different things and going down rabbit holes. I do think that in this case, Tyler Robinson is the murderer. I do think he was radicalized. I could be wrong in all of this. I do believe that it was known by at least a few people prior to that, and I do think, just based on the text messages, I don't think it was FBI that created the text messages like a lot of people are alleging. I do think it comes from Tyler Robinson and this and his lover, and with foreknowledge of what they were going to say essentially within these text conversations. And so this is just to show you how easy it is to go down rabbit holes that may be putting people down the wrong path. And so, and again, I've been guilty of this as well, which is why it's important to like continue looking at data from an unbiased lens.
Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff. Mr. Scortis.
Okay, so they're trying to make connections here, saying that Tyler James Robinson charged Charlie Kirk shooting suspect faces death penalty. This is what they're giving. Okay, so they're saying Charlie Kirk, Charles James Kirk, born October 14th, 1993, until September 10th, 2025, was an American right-wing political activist. Okay, sure. Throwing in Captain James T. Kirk in here. As the first captain of the USS Enterprise, viewers met on screen. Captain James T. Kirk helped introduce the world to the Star Trek universe. Sure, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but let it roll out. James Tiberius Kirk, also known as Captain Kirk, is a fictional character. Yeah, we already know this. Okay, sure, we know that. James is such a common name, especially for middle names, that again, this is how I make assessments when I look at videos, just so people know.
Open your eyes.
Saying that George Floyd, his date of birth is October 14th, 1973. Charlie Kirk, October 14th, 1993. That is there's 365 days in a year, depending on if it's a leap year or non-leap year. And so the odds of having the same birthday, again, this is still, again, like it's not, like what's the link here? There are people that have been in the entertainment industry in varying degrees, whether it be commercials or reality TV or as part of like media scripts, et cetera, actors that I do think get more involved in like these more radical organizations and groups, and that are utilized for certain skill sets or expertise or benefits that they can bring, and their ability to be indoctrinated and radicalized. And so just because someone was an actor doesn't make me automatically negate all the evidence that has been put in place and shown to us, provided to us by people from the media. So it's not just the FBI or anything like that, getting data from actual people on the internet that had video and footage and witnesses, etc. And yeah, I've seen all of these before, what they're talking about for him being an alleged crisis actor. So he's best known for his work in Pink is In, the movie, and Sid the Kid. Keep an eye out for his role as William Pender. He's an actor. It's not a crisis actor. There are actual crisis actors out there. And they're the ones that go, when there's like areas like war or border or protests, etc. They are used in order to elicit emotional responses in people with the crowds. I don't know why they do that, but they do.
Nice.
Yeah, so now people are alleging that Charlie Kirk is still alive. Again, this is just ridiculous to me. And it's his memorials today. I've been watching a little bit of it. It's gut-wrenching. Ugh. So anyway, I'm just putting this out there because this was just sent to me again. So a former actress, Erica Kirk. So again, this doesn't mean anything. So people don't even know why they're doing it when people tell them to do those. Yeah. No, I don't. The last name that they provided, I don't think that was her last name before Charlie Kirk. Let me see here. Oh yeah, it was. Okay. France V. France. Anyway, I do want to share a video that I did with Andreas Zertis a few years ago. That will be a separate video. So for this, I'm going to watch a little bit more of the Charlie Kirk memorial. So on that note, I will leave it at that for now. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.